once they get here, once the multinational gangs start having gang fights in the universities where these young children are going to be able to get free rides, they're going to be able to get in-state tuition at the very least in the universities, it'll be a great place for them to accelerate the turf war between drug companies. And how's that working out in Chicago? Inner-city black residents are saying Obama is the worst president ever. Why are they saying that? Well, they say that because he's not doing anything to help them. As a matter of fact, in Chicago, just in the first 2 weeks of July, they've had 120 people shot, 26 killed so far. And of course, as we've been told many times by a former prosecutor in Chicago with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, 80% of the shootings in Chicago are drug-related. Expect to see this kind of violence throughout America, especially if they can get gun control enacted. Now, in other news, we had a couple of breaking stories this weekend that point out what Alex Jones has been telling you for a very long time. First, we have a former commander of al-Qaeda saying that ISIS works for the CIA. And of course, he doubles down and says, so is al-Qaeda. This is the founder of the Islamic Democratic Jihad Party, former top al-Qaeda commander. He told the Beirut-based pan-Arab TV station Al Mayadeen, all current al-Qaeda affiliates, including ISIS, work for the CIA. He says, what I want to tell you, the efforts of all Islamic countries, Sunni Shiites, must combine to eradicate these groups because these groups are the claws of colonialism in the region. He says that ISIS, or now as they're calling themselves IS, or the Islamic State, is part of a neocon and Israeli clean break program to balkanize the Arab and Muslim Middle East, designed for endless war. That's what our foreign policy has been designed around for the longest time. And what are these surveillance programs that we're suffering under here designed for? Well, the former technical head of the NSA, the highest ranking whistleblower to come out so far, William Binney, said that it is nothing less than total population control. That's the aim, he says, of the NSA. In this article, he says 80% of all phone calls, and not just metadata, are being stored by the NSA. He said 80% of fiber optic cables globally go through the U.S. He says this is not an accident. It allows the U.S. to view all communications coming in. At least 80% of all audio calls, not just metadata, are recorded and stored in the U.S. The NSA lies about what it stores. This is a guy who for 30 years worked for the NSA. This is the guy who was technical head of the NSA with global responsibilities. He was the global technical head. So you've got the former al-Qaeda commander telling you that it is truly al-Qaeda. You've got the former NSA technical head telling you, yes, they're lying to you. They really are storing everything, not just the metadata. And by the way, if it was just the metadata, that would be enough to be a violation of the Fourth Amendment. They can tell just as much, if not more so, from your metadata as they can from your phone conversations. Well, stay with us. Right after the break, we're going to talk about a supposedly new breakthrough in brain hacking. Stay with us.
The facts are in. The studies are legion. Sodium fluoride and other members of the fluorine family that are added to Western water supplies are devastating the health and cognitive ability of the people that drink it. So the question is, why are the social engineers adding it to the water? Simple. Dumb down the host population that the parasitic technocracy is feeding on. We developed the Fluoride Shield to be the highest quality, highest standards because I use it every day and my family uses it every single day. Let's take a closer look at the ingredients that make up this special proprietary formula. Tamarind has been celebrated for its ability to immobilize toxic fluoride residues, while zeolites have a long history of attracting and holding toxic compounds. Enter fulvic acid, an excellent cleansing agent. Then we added the highest quality shilajit, a rare compound that is collected from the high mountains of the Himalayas. We topped it all off with the powerhouse herb cilantro that is intended to mobilize fluoride and other dangerous compounds for removal from the body. And the final touch to energize this formula is our proprietary nascent iodine. And as always, consult your physician as well because that is important. And finally, Fluoride Shield, Survival Shield, and all the products at InfoWarsLife.com grew out of my quest to try to find the very best compounds from God's cornucopia to protect myself and my family. And from our research, I believe we are bringing you the best, highest quality products. And you have that commitment from Alex Jones and the entire InfoWars crew.
Welcome back. Now, DefenseOne.com reports that there's been a breakthrough in brain hacking. They call it a checkered history. As they point out, the military has been looking to build better brain hacks for decades with results that have ranged from the frightening to the comical. Well, there's not a whole lot to laugh about with this. One of the things that they're talking about here, and it's not really so much the technology that's important, I think it's really the ethics and their goals, what they're trying to accomplish. But here's what they say about this breakthrough. They say scientists funded by the Defense Department have just announced a breakthrough that could allow researchers to create in 220 days an extremely detailed picture of the brain that previously would have taken 80 years of scans to complete. So they can do it in 220 days, what they previously would have taken 80 years to complete. Now, of course, that's being funded by the Defense Department. These people are telling us with a straight face that this is strictly for helping people with Alzheimer's or people who have traumatic brain disorders. And they're also telling us that their brain research is going to help veterans with PTSD because they're going to be able to go in and selectively remove memories or implant memories. And of course, part of that program is Obama's Brain Initiative, a multi-billion-dollar program. DARPA's got a huge chunk of that. And they're talking about their program, Restoring Active Memory. Look at that acronym, RAM. Does that sound familiar? If you know anything about a computer, it does. RAM is the computer's memory. So basically, they look at you as essentially a computer that they can hack. That's why they're talking about brain hacking. That's why they're talking about their RAM program. You should be very concerned. If they were genuinely concerned about medical issues, and of course, that's not at all what the Defense Department and DARPA are focused on. They're about creating war machines, okay? They're not about doing medical research. If they had any real concern about the veterans, they would be doing something for them in just ordinary care at the VA. So you should be very skeptical of anything that they tell you. If they do come up with a treatment, will they make it available to the vets? I seriously doubt it. They're always saying they're going to do that. We should remember the history of what they did to World War II veterans with PTSD. They gave them lobotomies. So this kind of rings hollow. And of course, they're being joined by Lawrence Livermore National Labs. They have, get this, high fidelity neural recordings. They're trying to do everything they can to map and to record your memory. It's not enough for them to record all of our metadata, not enough for them to record all of our phone conversations. As the former head of the NSA said, he said they want total population control. That's how you do it with these brain projects. So if you're approached by somebody for some research, think twice about that. We need to try to cut this kind of funding off for this kind of dangerous research. But look at the other side of this. There's also, of course, a race for artificial intelligence. This article from Wired Magazine points out that Microsoft is jumping into this to try to race Google to see who can create the first artificial brain. And of course, it's not just Google and Microsoft, it's also Apple and even Facebook. These are the people who are trying to get in and create artificial intelligence, what they call deep learning. In other words, trying to make cognitive sense out of multiple inputs, speech, vision, text, all at the same time. So that's where we're headed. They're trying to control that. Who do you think is going to control the artificial intelligence? Well, it's the same people who are seeking to control all aspects of the population. Well, speaking of removing veterans' memories, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs' memory is very much intact. Stay with us right after the break. We have another installment of In the Trenches.
Alex Jones here to break down some exciting developments in the area of research concerning supplemental iodine. It's nothing less than phenomenal. I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. And I used some of the mainline iodine supplements and they upset my stomach and I had some issues with it. Until I discovered a product being developed by Dr. Group, who I was already interviewing as an expert on my radio show, and I began taking the product before he actually rolled it out. You now know it as Survival Shield, true nascent iodine that your body can really absorb. Then, about a year ago, he said, listen, if you think this is powerful, I'm going to come out with rare earth, deep earth crystals that are incredibly powerful that no one else has as a source for their iodine from between 7,000 and 12,000 feet, literally drilled out of the ground. You put it on a hot plate and it turns into the pure gas. No one else has 99.99% pure iodine. And the results that I personally have had have been life-changing. I was over 270 pounds. And with the iodine, exercise, and better diet, I have lost now more than 50 pounds total, and I'm continuing to lose the weight. I have more energy, my libido, all this crap came out of my skin. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. This is innovating. This is trailblazing. And the best part is it helps fund INFOWARS.com, the radio show, the TV show, the whole media operation promoting true libertarian ideas. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off Super Detox special at INFOWARSLife.com.
Let me tell you a story about a couple of years ago when I was in Afghanistan. The unit I was with, we got a call from our commanding unit back in Salerno, Afghanistan, and they had intel on what they thought was going to be a possible IED making facility. So we get this call and we're kind of thinking like, all right, what are we going to come across? This is going to be crazy. None of us are, EOD trained. We don't know how to deal with explosives that much. That's going to be a little crazy going up into this place like that without that kind of training. So we got everything gathered, all the equipment we could possibly think we would need for something like this. And we kind of go up to the door, and we don't know what to expect at all. We walk in, and there's this family, just a regular family. I think there was 4 adult males, a couple wives, and a whole bunch of kids, cows, goats, all this stuff inside this compound area. And we're walking around, and I'm sitting there thinking, this place could be booby-trapped. Every time I took a step, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, this would be the last step I ever take in my life. So we go through and we have an initial search of the entire compound. We don't find anything at all. And usually when we get intel from the source that we got it from, it's usually always been pretty much spot on. It's never been too far off. So I was sitting there thinking, you know what, I'm gonna get my metal detector. So I run back out to the MRAP and I go grab the metal detector and come back in and I just start scanning the walls and we immediately start getting hits. So we bring out hammers and all that stuff and just start knocking through the walls. And what we found was mind-blowing. The skin, the hair on my skin just popped up. I had goosebumps. HME, which is homemade explosives, passports, money, grenades, weapons, throughout. They had it buried under huge stacks of hay. Just after we spent time, we went through with that detector, we found so much stuff and laid it out. It was an entire arsenal. They had phone books with people's names in New York circled, like Congress people, things like that, that they had intent, they had the money, they had the backing, they had the explosives to pull it off. And it was just nuts. And the scariest thing for me was seeing those glass marbles, because what happens when something like that blows up and you go in and you get x-rayed, you can't pick up glass shards. So when that hits you, those fragments go into your body, those marbles, and you're just bleeding to death. You just sit there and the doctors are laying around you like, there's nothing they can do. And just to see what they had in the plan, it wasn't just an IED making facility. These guys were planning on doing something over here in America. So for all these people that think that a lot of this stuff's made up, it's real. The threat is out there. There's people out there who hate us, who want us killed. I know we funded Taliban back in the day.
Let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded.
But these were Taliban guys that had money to do it, and they had the motivation to get all that stuff and spend that much time hiding